Hey guys, how's it going? This is a part of a few videos that I'm putting together about the Cascade Classic and about stage races generally, and some of the ideas that I have about like how to approach them, and some nutrition and recovery ideas. And then this video is going to be about tactics and strategies that I might use when approaching a stage race like Cascade. So let's do it. So, like any stage race, I would go into it, looking at the details of each individual stage and take a look at, how long the stages are in distance, but also like how long it is likely to take, because a 90-mile stage might take you, 4 hours, might take you 5 hours, depending on the terrain and what kind of field you're in and how fast it's likely to go. So I would maybe look at past years of that race and see how long it's likely to take the whole stage to finish, and take that into account when you're thinking about your nutritional strategies and how you're kind of exerting your effort throughout the course of the stage. So to get started, let's start off with stage 1 of Cascade. It's a great stage. I really like that one. I like most of the stages of Cascade actually, but for the purposes of this video, I'll be talking about the pro race, and so some of the details might be different, obviously, if you're doing a different field, racing a different field in the race, or if you're doing another stage race. But I think to an extent some of the analysis could still be useful even if you're thinking about another stage race that you might be doing. So looking at any stage, I would look at the topography of the race and what the weather is likely to be like and what you expect the field to be like. That can all impact how the race goes and how you might want to approach it, whether you want to ride aggressively or more conservatively. If it's a really hard field, or like the level of fitness of the field is maybe like equal to or superior to what the level you think you're at, and maybe it's really hot, maybe you want to be a little more conservative and just do what you can to save as much energy as possible and just try to hold on till the end. Or if you're pretty fit relative to the field and maybe it's pretty cool and you don't need to worry so much about overheating or getting dehydrated, and maybe that's gonna allow you to be more aggressive in the race and try to make things happen later in the race where you might attack or try to get in a move. Looking at this stage, it starts off mostly flat for a while. It's kind of twisty along the first stretch of road, but it's not very wide, so you can't really get too far back, or else you won't be able to see what's happening. And if a break goes up the road, you won't necessarily know who's in it or how big it is. So I would always try to be like within sight of the front of the race, so that all through that stretch you can kind of see what is happening. About 20 miles in, you go up and over a little intermediate climb, and it's not a crazy climb, but it is definitely going to hurt. And if you're in the middle or back of the field, that's really going to be difficult. If you're trying to be proactive in the race, you definitely don't want to be back there, because you'll have to work hard to pass a lot of people. If you're just trying to hold on, you definitely don't want to be near the back, because some guys might get dropped, or at the very least it's going to get strung out over that climb. And it's kind of a false flat, well, it's a little descent and then a false flat downhill for a while after that, so it's going to be pretty fast, and it'll be really strung out. If it's at all windy, that's going to be really painful, and you could get dropped there. In all likelihood, the race will stay together through that section, and the little bump that's a little bit farther along, maybe around mile 45, but it's going to be hard. And especially because it's the beginning of a stage race, everyone is really motivated and everyone is pretty fresh. People often will, race more aggressively, and the speeds will generally be pretty high, all the way through like mile 70 or so. So I would generally expect at some point 30 to 60 minutes into the race, some intermediate sized breakaway is going to split off from the field, usually maybe like 10 or 12 guys. In all likelihood, the early break is not going to finish ahead of the field, but there is always the outside chance that that might happen. It is more likely to happen if it's a bigger breakaway and there's more teams represented, and there's maybe a couple of guys from each of the main teams that are in the field, because then the guys that are in the field have no incentive to chase, and the guys up the road maybe can work together, and there's more cards that they can play, so there's a greater chance that a large break could finish ahead of the field. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, but there's always the outside chance, so I would always try to keep an eye on the front of the field, so that if a large break goes with 20 guys, you could potentially be in there if you are trying to do well on the stage or in the overall. But in general, I would say 90% odds. There's a small break, it gets caught on the final climb or even before the final climb. It's a long day, it's usually pretty hot. Usually by the time you're going through Sisters, it's a little bit tight through there, and then it's the false flat uphill, going out towards the final climb. And all of that is, pretty hard riding. People are fighting for position, and the final climb is, not anything crazy, but it's tough, especially after, 95 miles of riding. That final climb really, shatters the field, and there's only going to be a dozen guys together with a K to go. So if you are trying to make a play for the stage or for the overall, your best bet probably is to stay in the field, do as little as possible, stay hydrated, stay fed, use your teammates to, make things easier on you. Keep an eye out for a really big split, and definitely don't get too far back in case it's windy and maybe the field breaks up. But for the most part, I would anticipate just chilling out and waiting till the final climb to be the most effective strategy for that race. If you're not going for the overall classification and you're not going for any stage results in stage 1, I wouldn't care about riding hard up the final climb. I wouldn't care about trying to be in the breakaway, or even like paying attention to who's in the breakaway. I would just sit in the field. I would stay out of trouble and stay away from the back anywhere near those climbs partway through the race, like mile 20 and mile 45, let's call it. I would definitely pay attention to the wind. That can make it really difficult if it gets strung out and there's echelons and the field breaks apart. You definitely don't want to be in the rear half of the field. You'd want to be like in the top quarter or the top third if you can. But other than that, just sit in and do nothing and don't care about the final climb. Just get to the final climb in the main group and then ride tempo up at your own pace. Push a little bit so you make sure that you're well within the time cut, but don't waste energy that you could save for a later day. And definitely this stage is long and it's hard and it's hot, and you'll finish it a little bit dehydrated and definitely low on glycogen. So have a meal plan and have some food with you in the car, so you can start hydrating immediately and taking calories immediately so that you can be better prepared for the next day.